many things stirring around in my spirit that I have to write to settle myself and find God's wisdom in the midst of chaos. I'm scared I won't be strong enough to face the things we might have to face in the coming weeks and months. But then I remember how much grace God gave us to walk out everything we've already faced. I've never felt completely overwhelmed, and I've never felt alone. So no matter what comes next, and I truly cannot even begin to guess how this will go, I know we will be carried. I want to shout out, look what God is about to do. Watch how he delivers Joel. And at the same time, I want to roll up in a silent ball and wait it out with fear and trembling, so aware of all my doubt, but yet convinced that my doubt is insignificant compared to God's faithfulness.
Joel, lay down. Okay. Should we do a song?
Sure.
Okay, big boys, how you come in here and we'll sing the littles a lullaby.
I'm tired.
No, it's bedtime. Ugh, okay. Elijah, lay down.
Babe, did you even check in his mouth?
Who's Joel? No.
Joel has chicken stuck in his cheeks from dinner.
That is so disgusting.
Been in there for the last 2 hours. Okay, hold on, I'm trying. Joel, ouch! Stop.
Did he just bite you?
We've been through so much already. This is a new degree of tragedy, but it's not so much different from the struggle we've already been living. We pressed into God. We pressed into faith. We fought until we found peace. We stood in peace when our flesh wanted to strive more. We stood in peace when it started to feel like laziness or foolishness or both. We waited for God to direct us specifically in prayer because all the directions we had initiated had not panned out. We prayed for no nausea because that's what we felt in our spirits we were supposed to pray, even though we'd prayed it countless times before while Joel continued to vomit. We saw one small miracle and then another. We waited to pray specific things until we were given specific direction, and we saw bigger miracles. And yet, if you asked either of us if we were doing enough, trying hard enough, we would say no.
Dear Eli, I feel nothing but pride for the way you battled cancer. I remember the way you learned to ride your tricycle down the hospital hallway instead of down the sidewalk like other 3-year-olds. It was hard for me to pray to God, "Thy will be done," when I really just wanted so desperately for him to heal you. In the 4.5 years that you dealt with harsh treatments, only once did you ask why God let you get cancer. I hope he has been able to explain the why to you, as I have always believed that he knew how strong you were and wanted to use you and your situation to positively impact so many lives. I remember how you never let me go to bed without telling me that you loved me and how those were your very last words to me. You taught me what was truly important in life, son. Still now, years after you left Earth, people are impacted by your life and the lessons you taught us. Thousands of people from around the world read your blog and still feel such a strong connection to you, even though they never met you in person. You would be happy to know that we continue to sell the Beat Cancer t-shirts that you love so much. We're still using them to raise awareness and funds for childhood cancer research and family and patient support programs. When you passed away, my greatest fear was that you would be forgotten. So many people still talk about you and how you changed their lives. That is such a precious gift to me as your father. Eli, you truly impacted more lives in your almost 8 years on Earth than many people do in a lifetime. I love you, buddy, and I can't wait to see you again. Love, Dad.
So, how long will we be in California?
I don't actually know. That's kind of why we're packing up everything, is because if the trial works really well, then maybe we'll stay in California for a really long time. Like, as long as it keeps helping Joel, then we want to stay and do the best we can for him and stay there where he's getting help. But if the medicine starts to not work, as soon as it's not helping him, I promise we'll come back home.
Are we going to Disneyland?
Yeah, of course. What do you think, Caleb? You okay with leaving for so long?
As this long day draws to a close, I am tired, but not sleepy. My face is puffy from crying. I have a dry throat and dry hands, a slight headache, and a desire to write down absolutely everything. I want to describe the feeling of being entirely empty and entirely resolute. I want to explore how I can be deeply sad and incredibly hopeful at the same time. I want to talk about holding Joel's hand, walking down the hall wanting to soak in the moment, to memorize the feeling of having his hand and mine, to let it matter, and then hating that my thoughts swing to, because what if I can't hold his hand one day? And hating that thought, wishing I could just appreciate each second of Joel without that appreciation spilling into the pre-morning I refuse to do because I believe he will live. But instead of fighting the brief thoughts of mourning, choosing to fight instead that lie that says that those thoughts betray some doubt, some mistrust of God, when I know that those thoughts make me human. That God knows I am human. He doesn't make Joel's victory dependent on me never feeling unsure. I won't let myself hold anything back this time. I would rather feel disappointed and let God heal my heart than to feel like I did not push myself as far as I possibly could in faith for my son.
I remember the day I was diagnosed. I remember the hallucinations from the high fever of 5-year-old's nightmares. I remember my mother silently weeping in the doctor's office. I remember friends and family gathered around my hospital bed in prayer. I remember the 2-hour ambulance ride to St. Jude where they could better care for me. I remember the 2.5 years of weekly chemo treatments, the numerous lumbar punctures and bone marrow aspirates. I remember Doctors Bell, Dahl, and Kalwinski, nurses Jean, Judy, and Dale, Miss Chris in social work, Darlene in travel, all part of the team that cared for me. I am a walking memorial to their successes. I remember the other patients I'd see each time I went to the hospital for chemo. I remember when some stopped coming. I knew what that meant. I remember the years of summer camp for children with cancer, children like me. I remember their laughter and the midnight talks of fears and joys, normal kid stuff. Some less so. I remember when some stopped coming. I knew what that meant. But I remember them. I am, and other survivors are, memorials to those who lost their fights.
expectation is so maddening sometimes. You know what she wrote on the eve of Joel's first surgery? The one back in January when we first found the tumor? I seriously feel like a kid on Christmas Eve. I'm pleading for God to spare his life, and I'm tempted to despair because self-inspection leads me to conclude I shouldn't expect much of anything. And yet my wife is expecting a surprise party from the Lord, replete with presents and supernatural miracles. I envy her.
Hop in bed, boys. Let's go.
Boys, get in bed.
Oh, can you at least tell us a story?
Sure.
Okay. This is the story of a very brave knight named Joel.
Joel the baby knight?
Yes, Joel the baby knight, but he's also Joel the very brave knight, and he was being chased by a dragon named Cancer.
Because of his tumor?
Mm-hmm.
Where does the dragon live?
In a forest.
Is the dragon big?
Very big.
Does the dragon breathe fire?
So much fire, you guys.
So, Joel has armor, like a sword and a shield and stuff? Ooh, or maybe a spear?
Yeah, that sounds good. So brave Sir Joel with his sword and his shield and his awesome spear and his super jumping ability was being chased by a dragon named Cancer.
What other superpowers does he have?
He also has grace.
That's not a superpower.
It's the best superpower.
Do you guys know what grace means?
Yeah, it's kind of like help.
Yeah, it's kind of like help. You know, and he's not the only one who's ever tried to fight this dragon. Some very brave knights have fought this dragon and lost. And some are able to drive the dragon off, and they can go home and they can quit fighting for a while. And the kingdom is safe.
Joel's been fighting this dragon for a long time, huh?
A long time.
But Joel found a nice empty cave where he could rest. And it seemed like the dragon couldn't find him. But just when he thought that the danger was past, the dragon found his hiding spot and came after him in the cave.
Well, that dragon's going to kill Joel. Joel's going to lose.
Why do you say that?
Because Joel is just a baby. Babies can't kill dragons.
You're right. The baby can't kill the dragon. But that's the best part of this story. God fights for Joel. So he fights that dragon Cancer right with Joel. And we know that God can win even if Joel can't. That's grace.
Tim from church, Mom. He died from cancer. Wasn't God fighting for him? Didn't he have this?
Of course, God fought for Tim too. Tim fought so well, and he was so brave and so strong that God let him rest. It may have seemed like the dragon won because Tim died. We know that Tim's in heaven and that he's with God and that God is so proud of him. So maybe for Tim, getting to be done fighting was